bring you three unique perspectives from Frank's Gun Range. I am the DJ of this episode, Andrew. With me, our B-side, Keith.
Hello.
And our bonus tracks, Aaron.
Hey.
This week, we played Mixtape by Beethoven and Dinosaur. Mixtape is a narrative-driven adventure game where you're playing a character who's basically living up her last day at high school before she goes on a trip and her friend group breaks apart, so they got to make the night epic. But going around, there's a lot of controversy in this game, so we're like, you know what? We should check this out. This was completely not on my list. I was like, I could care less. I saw the trailer for this game. I was like, man, this just looks like a typical teen angst game. I think I'm good. But a lot of people were talking about it, and it's like, well, maybe we should check it out. So getting into whether or not this is a game or a pass, I will give this barely a game. I do not like generally this style of game. I generally like a walking simulator narrative-driven game. I'm fine with that. But generally don't care for teen angsty kind of stuff. Like, I never cared for Life is Strange. Like, a lot of those games from Don't Nod. Anytime I see them, I kind of like, I know what I'm getting into, so I don't think I care to go on that adventure. But all the buzz around Mixtape, I was like, you know what? Maybe there's something more to this that I don't see. And honestly, no. That's my wholehearted recommendation. If you see that trailer and you say, you're probably going to go, when you play the game. Like I said, I was maybe slightly higher enjoyment than I thought I would, but barely. Not enough to be like, oh, if you're going to play one walking simulator, this is it. So my advice, like I said, look at the trailer. If you don't think you're going to like it, you're probably not.
Yeah, so I think this was kind of my idea that we should do this because, like you said, there's a lot of talk and conversation around this, and I started it, and I immediately, well, I guess first of all, I could have sworn we had talked about this at one point. I went back and I looked at like our side quest. This was never anywhere. I think I'm confusing it with Lost Records, maybe, because
maybe
on its surface, there's a lot of things about Mixtape that I thought going into it I was gonna like, and so when I saw a lot of like the bad stuff about it, there's the gameplay isn't there, blah blah blah, I was like, okay, whatever, I can get past that because I thought the idea and the concept of what it was going to be was going to actually play out pretty cool, and truthfully, it's going to sound just like a dunking on it like everyone, but it's just kind of a dud for me. It really just fell flat and did nothing. I didn't hate it. I wasn't angry about it. I just did nothing. It was completely empty for me. And so, yeah, overall, I got to give it a pass.
All right. I'm going to give this a game, but I'm going to have a lot of critiques. I know everybody's going to have a lot of critiques on this one, but I think it's probably really important to just kind of address the thing from the very beginning. I think this game was always supposed to be super, super niche. One thing and one thing only made this game the controversy that it is today. Do you guys even know what that is?
It's IGN.
IGN. If IGN didn't give this game a 10, if they gave it a 7, we are literally not talking about this. We're not playing it, probably. Like, we're probably just going to go play something else.
Well, and not just IGN. It's honestly a ton of critics gave it a 10. Like, they had an accolades trailer, and they have like a good 20 different journalists gave it a 10.
I just think the loudest one out there was IGN. Like, you guys all said it.
They called it a masterpiece.
Yes. Well, anything that gets a 10 is a masterpiece.
Oh, that's fair.
They automatically get the masterpiece because Forza Horizon 6 just got a 10 with IGN as well. And obviously that one's not controversial. But that was the thing that sparked this. And then it just evolved. And, we'll obviously have all those things that we're going to criticize here as we talk through it. But that's really the only reason we're here right now, is IGN decided to give it a 10 and not a 7, which is something IGN gives to every video game that they play. So that's the only reason this is a conversation. Now, overall, on paper, this game should be right up my alley, right? It's kind of story-driven. I've been a big fan of these, not necessarily walking simulators, but these kind of, story-driven games like this that are not super actiony, but just something kind of more enjoyable to chill with. And it's focused around music. Like on paper, this should be a big deal for me. But all in all, it just falls flat way too many times for me to really love it. So yeah, Andrew's bringing up. So here's my problem though. Andrew's currently, if you are watching us on video, Andrew has now brought up some of the highest scored reviews, but I've got a problem here. Who are these games?
Yeah.
Who are these?
Past IGN, I don't really
You haven't
know
heard of
any these.
video games are good?
Loot Level Chill gave it a 10 out of 10. Oh, okay. Who are these? Use a potion.
Who's Game Pass grab bag? Ugh.
Steve Ivor. Obviously, Steve Ivor. Everybody knows him.
So that's my problem.
Well, the other one, which I'm surprised this is on here, is Kind of Funny. Kind of Funny, I'm pretty sure also gave it a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, what you're doing though is you're looking at a lot of things. I mean, obviously IGN is the biggest one, but like Nintendo Life is bigger, Game Informer is bigger. Those aren't giving it a 10. GameSpot is big; they're not giving it a 10.
Nines.
I
Nines.
argue though that even a 9 in this case, and I think coupled with the 10 of IGN, I think if you're going back to your original statement, if IGN had given this a 7, an 8, and then Game Informer gives it a 9, still not really all that. Still doesn't really do much. But the fact that IGN set it out there and had the highest lauded praise for it, that he said it really is what created the controversy of it, and
100%.
and that's really without question.
And they've developed a reputation of giving 7s for everything. Like I said, like that's been the running joke with them is like, you know, true masterpieces are coming out and they just give it 7s all the time, and they always write reviews as if they don't know how a video game even works. And then this thing came out, and I think that's honestly what started this. I think if GameSpot came out and gave it a 10, you know, and I'm not gonna sit here and actually split hairs with it. Like how somebody connects with a game is how they connect with the game. It's why we have this with 3 different perspectives here, because we've had many instances where we've reviewed games and we've been all over the map on it because we've had different experiences. So whatever. Somebody wants to give this a 9. Somebody wants to give this a 10. That's totally up to them. But I think that the conversations that then get sparked from it is what's gotten way out of control. Like way out of control.
Yeah.
But that's video games in 2026.
But I mean, I was curious how we were going to land on this, because as you were saying, Aaron, like you attach yourself a lot to music. Not only that, we grew up. I mean, we weren't fully in high school, but we grew up in the 90s.
Yeah, we were teenagers really in the early 2000s, but I mean, everything here that I'm seeing, none of it's like, whoa, what's that?
Yeah, cell phones are really the only thing I feel like is largely missing from what we experience versus what's in this.
Pretty much. Like a VCR, we've all grown up on VCRs. We knew what that was like.
We all grew up burning mixtapes.
Yeah, we all like that. All that stuff is easily understandable. And yeah,
She was burning CDs even. So I mean, like, it's at least late enough into the 90s that she's got CDs.
Well, I do think they messed up on some of the timelines here, but we'll talk about that later.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't think they were spot on exactly everything being in a perfect time frame.
Well, you
That's
know what year?
splitters.
You know what year this game takes place, right?
It's early 90s, right?
Nope, 1999 or 98.
See,
I didn't know if they actually gave it a year. I was trying to find it.
When
but I
you do the pause menu, the pause menu is a CD, and the bottom right corner is a price tag for the CD that the thing's on, and it said like I think like July 99.
I always got the vibe that it was earlier 90s, but yeah, no.
I
you
did
could be
too.
right.
But
Yeah.
there was a couple things where I'm like, wait, when is this? The girl Cassandra had a baseball shirt that said like Baseball Camp 95. So it's like, okay, like so it's at least 95. And then that's when I noticed the pause menu had a CD that said 99 on it.
Gotcha. All right, well, there you go. Learning something new.
Which right off the gate, if it's in the 90s, why does it say in the very opening thing with like intro to the game you're skating down the hill, it says President Harry Truman?
Oh,
What is that reference about? Because no, he wasn't.
That's a good point.
Alternate universe.
And like not even close either.
I was trying to figure out, like, I don't know if it was like just supposed to be a gag,
I thought it was that, but that's where I was trying to figure out that it never references. There's nothing about it that I was like, oh, that's why that was funny. It was just
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. I'm not really entirely sure. I did see that though.
So that leads me to my first point. I I don't like the story of the game. I mean it's so Andrew mentioned it, it's a coming of age tale. It's
Well,
you know
well
the
let me
last night in
explain it
town, right?
first. Or
You
we'll
do
get
you do
into
your
it.
you do your bit. I'll get there.
So the story of Mixtape, you are playing the main character of Stacy Rockford, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Keep wanting to call her like Sally. No, but that was a sister, right?
I just wanted
Anyway.
to say Cassandra for some reason.
No, Cassandra was the friend.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have your two friends, Cassandra and Slater. But you were three best friends in high school, just graduated. It's just about to become the last day of. Well, it's kind of weird. It's the last day of school because one school is still in session, even though it's the middle of the night. I don't know. But supposedly this is it. This is kind of their last time as them together as friends because your character, Stacy, is about to go on a trip to New York to try to convince a producer, music lady to get you a job to be a music engineer. Was that the job? Or
No.
music supervisor?
Music supervisor, yeah.
Yeah, that's what the title was. But because of this, you're leaving the friends. This takes place in Washington, or was it Oregon?
I thought it was upstate California because when you're looking at
No.
the map,
It's either Washington or California or Oregon.
It's somewhere
I think it's
Pacific
Washington.
Northwest.
I'm 90% sure it's Washington.
you could be right.
That sounds
anyway,
right.
But anyway, you're about to leave, so you're essentially splitting up the friend group. So your friends had this big road trip planned, but since you're leaving, the road trip's canceled, and so you're trying to have one last epic night together as friends, as a
No,
group.
she said they were going without her.
Yeah, because you were supposed to
Now you're spoiling things.
spoiling the first 5 minutes of the game.
But that is generally the whole point of the game is you are reliving some childhood memories that these friends grew up with, looking at little trinkets in the room, remembering these fond memories that you guys had together as a group, as this is essentially your last night together. And each little memory is a little bit of a mini game, unlocking a little bit of the story, and yeah, that's basically it. And I guess fair warning. All right, so I guess I would say there's not a lot in this game that's like a big spoiler. But obviously, we are going to talk about the story. If you are interested in this game, I'm just going to say now, just I guess stop and play the game. It's 3 hours long, but we're going to cover some stuff, obviously, and it might be a little spoilerish. If you want to go in completely fresh, I guess just stop listening to us now. But yeah, let's get into the story, Keith. So, what was your gripe?
I mean all of it, honestly. So you're like it's a coming of age tale, and that's fine. Those are generally okay. I don't have anything against them. And and it's just the way it all plans out is I don't know, nothing about it is interesting. The characters are awful in my opinion. Not a single one of them is redeemable or likable. And like
I like
it's
Slater.
just he at points he is, but it's just kind of he's just dopey. He doesn't do anything interesting. He's just like, "Whoa, would you guys like pizza?"
He's literally Shaggy from Scooby
Yeah,
Doo.
you'll be talking about something and he'll just bring up something completely nonsensical. So it's like there are all these really bad characters of people I wouldn't like or like to be around. So I don't like the characters. Their story is boring. Nothing interesting actually happens other than the dramatic overplays of it that I get are part of the cinematic appeal to it. Like it's supposed to be dramatic and cinematic on all these things, but it's a boring story that nothing happens, nothing gets resolved, and a bunch of people I don't care about. Stacy is the worst. She is like the epitome of someone who would be awful to be around, in my opinion. Like if you don't like what I like, you're just not as smart as I am. Is everything she gives off as a vibe, and it is so unlikable.
I agree. I did not like Stacy. So for the longest time, I'm like this character is insufferable. Yeah, she's mean to her friends. She dictates the music, but also too, no one else is listening to music. She's the only one wearing headphones. So I would think it'd be funny if they made another game where it's like one of the other characters' perspectives, and it's just like dead silent the entire time because they're not listening to the music. Well, she's like, guys, we're listening to this track, and she's just wearing headphones.
I thought the whole point of it was that they did, and they were all listening along with it together because
No,
in the very
she
opening
puts on
sequence,
headphones.
they're doing like clap sequences together as they skeet down the mountain. So I
That's a
just
fair
assumed they
point.
were all listening in tune, which was really weird that they coordinated that.
I know. Because if you've ever listened on a Discman, those things skipped like crazy.
Well, okay. All right. So let's break this one down because I do actually have some thoughts on that as well. I don't think the music playing is actually in her headphones. I think this is kind of more of like a fourth wall breaking situation where because she is a music supervisor, they're all actually hearing the music. She's selecting the music for these scenes. So it's not that she's just listening to it, it's just present like it would be in a movie. I think that's more the vibe that they were actually going for.
And I do
Well, sure.
agree. I'm just
yeah.
being cynical of like,
Yeah. So here's what came up in all this discourse after the IGN thing happened. What shortly happened after that, and we'll get into some of this in the gameplay, is what constitutes a video game. Is this even a video game? And the reason all that stuff comes up, and again, we'll talk about that a little bit more in gameplay, but it does actually kind of bring up a better question as I was playing this. I'm with you. I don't necessarily have a problem with the story. I don't like the characters. And it did make me wonder, well, wait, if this was a movie, could this have actually been better suited for giving you what you need here? And the reason why the story itself doesn't really bother me is because the story itself has been done 1,000 times before. And truthfully, to kind of a successful clip. You can even kind of look at a more crude version of this and say, oh yeah, Superbad.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Superbad was a great comedy of a bunch of teenagers kind of living their one last great night. And there's a bunch of those types of movies, and they're not bad movies. And that's where my issue is, as a game format, I'm kind of dropped into these characters. I don't know them. I have no connection to them. And their way of trying to get me connected to them is through these vignettes kind of looking into the past. But they're not connected to anything. In a movie, you probably could have fleshed that out a whole lot more to where these characters and how they interact with each other and what they're doing right now makes a little bit more sense and it's connected to you. But because I didn't like these characters and they never really gave me a reason to ever like them, it made all those little vignettes feel really hollow. I didn't walk away from them like, oh, now I see why they're best friends. I never.
oh
really
yeah,
had...
that vignet of them being best friends was kind of dumb.
Well, this is what
hey,
I'm
my
saying.
dad said you guys are bad people. Let's be friends. Okay, and it's like, oh, okay.
There's a whole lot of moments like there where you're like, well, if this was in movie format, you probably would be filling in a lot of those moments instead of just walking around a room remembering things, actually filling it out with content that makes you care about these characters. I think that primarily becomes the biggest problem here. Because the vignettes and stuff are all cute and stuff, but it only matters if I care about these characters. Not that I think it was necessary, but either you make it a movie or you make this game a little bit longer to the point where this story can flesh itself out a little bit. Yeah, but just being dropped into it and then just immediately being given vignettes of how all these memories, it does nothing. It moves nothing. So I think that's a tough part of it.
Well, you mentioned Superbad, and that's an obvious one. And probably if you were to name the top 3 or 4 others that come to mind, I bet you one thing also runs as a constant with all of them, is that they're all comedies. And I think that this story is better told as a comedy. Mixtape tries to be so serious, and I think I mentioned this last week, we were just kind of chatting about it, is the way I saw, or the issue I saw with the character development in Mixtape is as a serious storyline and trying to take these characters serious, you have to care about them. So, and if you have to care about them, you have to know about them, and there's no way to really build knowledge, like feeling for them, because truthfully, none of them felt connected or had any sense to them. Like, if this is a comedy thing of Superbad, you immediately get why McLovin and Jonah Hill's character Seth don't like each other. Just like right off the bat, they're bantering, they're back and forth. You're like, okay, this makes sense. I don't need a 15-minute cutscene of something that happened. It's just there, and it sells in a comedy because I can just get on board with the jokes. They're funny.
I would push back though. I don't. This is trying to be a comedy.
Yeah,
Like,
100%.
is it?
I
The
think
kissing
it's
mini
really-
game.
Yeah, it does enough weird stuff. Like even the shopping cart sequence where you guys were talking about the clapping, but even in that sequence, the water going off at the same time as you're
Yeah.
going through. Like,
I mean, walking through the movie store high.
yeah, it's made to be lighthearted. Now, does it nail that? No,
see,
and like I said, it's not trying to be crude, but I think it's. I won't disagree with you in the fact that I think tonally, I think it kind of struggles with either it needs to be really more comedy or it needs to nail those drama parts, and it doesn't really nail either. So it falls into a weird dead zone. But I don't think this was trying to be too serious. I just think it didn't nail the comedy parts.
I mean, I won't even argue that you're wrong. I think you're right. It is trying to be funny. It's just not.
No, there was no
There was a
part.
couple moments I chuckled a little.
Did
like
you?
Them talking about Slater's mustache, and then it does
Oh,
that
yeah.
hyper
That was kind of
photo.
funny. It zooms
Like
in on
that
his
was kind of
lips.
funny. Yeah,
That
like
was
there's
kinda funny.
there's some moments where it's just like, oh, okay, that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, it didn't, like you said, Keith. It didn't know what lane to pick. It did feel like I could see where you're coming from when you thought this game was trying to be all serious, but there was like comedy moments. So to me, it didn't feel like it could pick a lane.
And it's part of the problem with Stacy's character is it's that hoity-toity looking down on you kind of sensibility.
Yeah.
And whenever you're playing something like that, and it feels like it's kind of talking down to you, it feels like it's being really, really serious. And I think that's where it contrasts. It's mostly built around Stacy's character of just being really kind of, I don't really bland, but really pretentious.
A whole nother thing, real quick, on the characters. This is probably kind of the backbone of just about any teen drama, teen comedy type of movie where it's like the characters don't really know what their actual situation is. But you have Stacy Rockford complaining about this boring town, everything's bad, blah 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 blah. Her parents let her like walk on water, are just like, oh, sorry, honey, like she screams at them for no reason and acts like she has this worse life. She's way overprivileged. Now Cassandra is under a super strict, but realistically, it's not the worst thing in the world. And
No.
then Slater, actually, his mom is like, yeah, I'll buy you guys booze. And like, what are any of them complaining about? Now, maybe Slater isn't complaining as much. He's not trying to get out. But it just, they're all super spoiled and privileged and complaining about how bad they have it. And
If you think about it, that's how we were in high school too. Like
I
you
don't-
think
I
everyone's out to get you, and you don't realize like you got it good.
I think that commentary is actually one of the few things that was pretty spot on. Her having really good parents, I think it's like this spot on, but just hating it and feeling like the town is just suffocating you and only losers would stick around here. I think that is a classic teenager sentiment that you feel of just like you want nothing to do with this place anymore. You just want to be as far away from it as you can, thinking it's always going to be better elsewhere, even when you're the most privileged and spoiled kid alive. I actually
last
thought
name is Rockford. That just sounds like a.
I know. I actually thought that commentary was actually of most of this. I thought that was actually really spot on.
I mean, maybe it went over my head, but
That
I
she
just
was the spoiled brat who feels like she deserves better than what she's got, and she's
think
gonna
it's-
get a hard dose of reality.
I think it's funny that Keith is the one that really did not like these characters. I feel like out of all of us, Keith, you were probably the most teen angsty out of us.
but not in that way. But
Again, think of our situations growing up. So again, we were all teenagers together, but it's not like your life was hard at home. Like none of us had hard lives at home. It was all pretty easy, pretty cushy, and yet, I'm sure the last place you wanted to live was Epping, New Hampshire. I'm sure that was the last place you wanted to spend the rest of your life. Was there. You were interested in going out and doing other things. You were down in Florida for a while.
for all of
Excited
5
to-
months because I knew that's how long I had to be there. I tried to go to school in Boston. I was there for a year, and I spent most of it at home because I was like, "No, this kind of sucks. I just
Yeah,
rather be back home."
well, I think
so
that's always-
again, I'm a bad example of this, and
I think it's a hard realization that every kid has is they always think I'm going to go out there and I'm going to be instantly successful. I mean, even Stacy's ideas of what's going to happen are idealistic and are built on happenstance, and she's hoping she runs into this person at the right time, and this person sees what they're
Which-
worth, and that creates her future. And I think that teenage stupidity is what's on full display here.
Which
and I
going
think
back
that's
to her
on
parents,
purpose.
they're letting her do. They're just like,
Yeah.
yeah, go right at. Like they're letting her do this wild, ridiculous thing.
And
Well,
it's-
she's
so
she's
that
moving in with her
commentary I'm good
sister.
with.
She's moving in with her sister. Her sister's in New York. Like that was my thing too, where I'm like, why is your parents just letting her go by herself to New York? And it wasn't until like later
California.
when I realized,
California's
oh,
near.
her sister's there.
Okay, yeah, but still, it's still just like on this premise of like, because even especially the '90s, if you think about that era, it just kind of thinking back to where we were like, that was still the era of like, you got to go to college. College is important.
Yep.
College matters. And if for her to be like, no, I'm not going to college. I'm going to go try to find a job off the streets in New York City. And yes, she had a roof over her head, so they knew she was safe. But that's still like, they were letting her do that. Like, whereas Cassandra's parents were ready to not let her go to college, period, because he didn't like her behavior. So like, that's a wildly different, upbringing between the two of them, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, but that commentary I'd never had an issue with. That one I thought was actually pretty spot on. That just kind of spoiled kid. And it comes back to how much I actually don't enjoy that character in general. And again, maybe in a movie you flesh it out to where, she has that kind of realization of it.
I want to ask you guys, do you think the main character is autistic?
I mean, there
I know
could
you
be-
guys discussed this before. So I went into it after I think you were pretty much done with it,
I
with that
finished
in
it.
mind. Like, do I think she is?
To me, it explains a lot. It explains how she's kind of like socially aggressive to people, how she's always wearing headphones, how she's hyper focused on one specific topic of being music. Because as Keith said, her thing is, I'm going to run into this lady. I know her schedule, which, how do you know someone's schedule in 99? It's not
I
like
know.
you could Google them
Yeah.
and see their things. So it's like she somehow knows this lady's like
I
itinerary.
thought she mentioned someone knowing her out there, so, like that worked there or something. I actually thought that came up truthfully, but I could have.
I think it did, but still, that takes a lot
Oh,
of work.
it is still weird, but it's. And I don't know. You use the word commentary, Aaron. And I don't see it as commentary. It's a character choice that I didn't like. That's more what it was. I think it makes sense, and you're right that they're trying to like kind of say it as like this is the the teen view, I guess. But I just thought she was unlikable, and if I don't like a character that much, I'm just
Yeah, I just thought that part of her character was the most relatable. Like, I understood it as to why that was happening that way, why that character was still just such a brat. But I'm not disagreeing with you. Like, a brat's a brat. It doesn't mean... But it was one of those things that even here, I'm almost 40. I can sit there and go, okay, I totally understood, because there were so many of those kids that had nothing but all the world in front of them, and all they could think about is how much they hate this place, and they just want to get away from this place. This place sucks, and all this stuff. And that was such common sentiment that, seeing that in a video game, I was like, oh yeah, no, I totally remembered those type of people.
But Keith, you didn't answer my question.
Dude, is she?
I mean, I guess, but I don't think that's what they're trying. I don't.
You heard
think
it here.
that-
Keith hates autistic people.
I had a feeling that was coming, but
You
no,
fell for
truthfully, I don't think they were trying to deliver that at all. I think that's more an inference than anything.
Yeah, I mean, they talked about the panic. That's why she has to have the headphones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
that's
There
maybe.
are some things that allude to it. And yeah, okay. If that were the case, does it make the character at least a little bit more sympathetic? Yeah, maybe a little bit. But, I mean, when you're trying to create a character you're connecting to, it was a difficult character for me to connect to. Now, this is why I say, like, it's tough, and why I'm not going to take a shot at somebody that comes at us and says they give it a 9, because there might be a bunch of elements here they 100% connect to. And I would think I was going to connect to a lot of this stuff because I thought on paper this thing connected. Like, oh, those are all things that I enjoy. But it just didn't work that way. I walked out of it going, I don't know if I really liked anyone in this.
I'm curious. Do you think you guys would enjoy this game more if it followed a different character? Because it is, if thinking about it, it's kind of an odd choice to pick the most unlikable character. Because like in reality, people playing this game, how many people do you think actually connect to Sally? Like, if anything, more people probably connect to Cassandra or Stacy. So people probably more connect to Cassandra or Slater more. So it's like, wouldn't it make more sense to have one of them be the main character? Because you'd have a higher chance of actually hitting with people. Because I doubt there's many people out there that are like, oh my gosh, I was like that in high school. I dictated the music and I wanted to be a music manager.
This is actually kind of not like, that's actually like a really interesting question. And why?
Oh, you actually give me some props.
Well, why that's kind of
That's
interesting.
what roast me last episode.
Well, because I think what you're like, so you take Stacy's character, and I think they were trying to build archetypes around them. Like, I think Slater was supposed to be, like you said, the goofy,
stoner.
Yeah, the goofy stoner. And then Cassandra was the more kind of buttoned up, strict one. And then you're kind of somewhere in the middle. And I think that was supposed to be the hierarchy that worked there. So what if you did start the game as the stoner kid? Does that work? I mean, you probably still have to fix that character a little bit more. But I don't hate that idea. But this is also why I say, like, a movie was probably the proper format to give this story. Because it just gives you an opportunity to make these people real people.
Well, because they definitely hint that Stacy and Slater dated, but never really say that. I thought there was pretty strong vibes that they were.
I think there were strong vibes too.
At the end, the way it ends with them, and the flashback scene where they're like, "Oh, so what did you guys do before I came along?" Sandra says, and it cuts back to like them hanging out, and they're again, the whole. I mean, and truthfully, they're a group of male and female friends throughout, so maybe they're just close, and it doesn't have to be anything to that, but it felt more the way they kind of like look at each other, and then they're like, yeah, but everything's cool now, and it was more that hint itself that I was like, that felt like there was more to it than just a photo booth happening there.
Yeah,
which that was a huge plot hole, that they're like, oh, we hung it at the mall all the time, except you went through the mall and it's being built. The mall doesn't exist. So what mall did they apparently hang out at? There's a lot of plot holes I found in this game.
There could be multiple malls.
So we asked this question. This is what I wanted to ask. Like, kind of what came first in this situation? Because my theory is that they said, hey, I'd like to build a game that's centered around music. And like the story is told by the soundtrack, basically. Like, they came up with that, and then they built the story to that idea, and then the characters came out of that. And that's where I think Stacy has to be the main character, because you can't have this game driven around music with Stacy just as a side character dictating the music. That feels weird.
Well, in that case, the story has to come first, because if you're picking music, you have to know what the scene is that the music's going to.
I'm not saying they had the music itself, though. I'm saying they had this idea of that's what they wanted it to be. Like, hey, we're going to come up with a soundtrack. We're going to build the game around that soundtrack so that it plays like a movie with that soundtrack, basically.
Which
is fine, too.
Without journalistic integrity here, because that is not something we do here. How much did they freaking pay for all of these licensed tracks?
Well,
I read an estimate of somewhere like it could be upwards of like, I think it was like $10 million or something like that. It was like
part
paper
of this game's
math.
Controversy.
Yeah.
What?
Like, I guess one of the directors or people who made this game is the daughter of like a multi-billionaire.
Annapurna is the spinoff of Oracle's CEO. It's his daughter, but that's Annapurna, I believe.
Oh,
they're just the producer or whatever.
So people were like, "Oh, it's a nepo baby situation." Why this game?
Beethoven and well, I think where the argument could come into play. So Beethoven and Dinosaur is an actual indie studio.
Yeah.
But in theory, could she have pushed this indie studio to create this game that she had a vision for? Sure. And so that's where I think that's where people are calling it the Nepo situation of like that she paid off IGN, because the other controversy is what the gift bags or whatever. I don't get this one. This doesn't move the needle for me at all. But it was like the amount of gift bags that were sent out are usually like AAA type of games. They send out to streamers and influencers. I know. I was shocked.
We didn't messed up.
but they, they're supposed things like that. They're like, well, that's not an indie studio. And honestly, maybe it's not. I don't, truthfully, that's like never been my issue with this. Because I wanted it to have a good game. I would love for them to license a $50 million soundtrack to the game. I think that would make it awesome. But unfortunately, I think they scraped the bottom of the barrel on all the artists they could, which in theory, to the indie point, could be the best they could do. I didn't like the music on top of it. Not to jump to that.
Really? Oh, we'll get into that topic. Yeah, I feel like we should get into that later. But yeah, so overall in the story, I feel like we're all kind of in the same spot of being a bit lukewarm with it.
Yeah.
Because even too, I felt like even how it ended was just kind of like, yeah, all right, the end.
It existed.
Yeah.
I did have one thought about the ending. Just on one quick thing is that it may be actually the most high school part of it. Like maybe we're bad examples because we're all high school friends that stayed friends and stayed close. But in a way, I got more of the vibes that like they were never going to talk ever again. That whole friend group was split up. They told each other they were going to be friends forever, and that was the last day any of them ever spoke. And I think that's the most high school aspect of it all. Is like you had these friends, you're like, we're never gonna ever stop talking. We'll be the best friends forever, and you don't even remember who that was anymore. So
I agree.
I don't know.
I kind of got that vibe too.
That was the one thing that I was like, oh, I can appreciate that.
Yeah. And I do like the whole plot point too of the road trip. Also too really wasn't resolved. It was just kind of like, all right.
Yeah, they were gonna bring in another friend because that she didn't like, and
which I did like that too. Of your character really hates this other girl, and
Well,
it's like an ongoing joke about it. But in the end, it's like something super stupid and petty, and it's like, yeah, that's pretty high school.
But you know what I think that leads into that whole idea of them just never really being friends, because maybe they were never friends in the first place. Because Sandra wanted to be friends with them because her dad didn't like them, and so she just wanted to be bad. So she probably didn't like being bullied by Stacy all the time. She probably thought Slater was a loser, but her dad didn't like him, so she was with him. She would rather be friends with Stacy or the other girl, and then you had Stacy and Slater who probably were actually friends, but I don't know. It felt like if they were willing to bring on this outside group, it's like, Grid, yeah, we'll just replace you because we don't really care as much as you care about us. Like you think we need you, but you need us.
Yeah, there was another plot point that also really irritated me. A plot hole. The whole point of this game too is your characters are trying to get alcohol. Your sister, your older sister, had a stash of alcohol. She left it at this building called the Ritz. But the picture of the alcohol is with the guy with the mustache. And literally at the end of the game, you guys all swore we will never tell anyone about the Ritz. No one will ever know about this location. But of course, Cassandra tells the girl you hate about it, and your character gets super mad. How dare you ruin it? How dare you tell her about this place? But in the end, you invite everybody to the Ritz, and now everybody knows about it.
Well, that's a conclusion.
The plot hole is you talk to the guy with the mustache. The girl's like, we don't know where to party. Do you guys know where to party? And your character's like, yeah, I know. And it's like, well, the guy with the mustache should know that place too. He literally was in the picture at the beginning of the game. Like, what? You're not the only characters that know about this place.
Maybe.
Because even at the end, he was like, good job, guys. We wouldn't have had a party if you guys didn't tell us about this place. It's like, but the dude knows about this place.
All right, can I bring up my minor gripe?
Yeah, go ahead.
At the very beginning of the game, you are skateboarding down a hill, okay? Pretty fun experience.
Yeah, that's good.
It's clearly fall. There are leaves all over the place. Know
Yeah.
anyone that graduates high school in fall?
That's a fair point.
That's a good point.
No. Do you know anyone playing football in May?
Oh, yeah, that irritated me.
The
Where it's like,
UFL?
yeah, school's out. And you're going through a school that's active. It's not only that, it's like 8 o'clock at night.
Yeah. I kept getting to this thing where I'm like, what is the timeline here?
Yeah.
Because at first I was like, oh, it's clearly fall. Like, that's the setup here. I'm going down. There's leaves all over the ground. I'm like, oh, all right, this looks nice. And then it's like, oh, school's ending. It's your last. And I'm like, wait, what? It's like, it's fall. That's not when school ends. Minor gripe, but I had one. There you go.
That's a good point.
the whole thing. I will say the school scene at night just felt more like it fit into the musical narrative I've ever.
Yeah,
Just
which was
looked cool.
awesome. I did actually really like it though. Everyone on the bus is dancing. I was like, this is cool.
Yeah, it looked cool.
But all right, so let's get into the gameplay now. So as we've kind of said, the gameplay is you're reliving these vignettes, and each vignette is essentially a mini game. Well, quote unquote mini game. As we've kind of said, you've probably heard online the controversy of you don't really need to play these mini games. You essentially can kind of put the controller down, and the game will play itself. I think that is true to an extent. I think some of the games you would have to do something like the baseball one. I think you have to pass that.
Yeah, it doesn't. I don't think it goes forward unless you actually hit the ball.
So I don't care that this isn't fully a game. Like to me, the people overly complaining about it, I'm just like, whatever. Like it's a walking simulator. Like that's what walking simulators do. It's very light on gameplay. Like you're there for the story to be part of the journey. So for me, I'm like, it's fine. Like I'm not gonna get bent out of shape. Like some people are just like, oh my gosh, it just plays itself, and it's like, okay, whatever.
It was after the IGN thing. After IGN
Yeah.
suddenly, because walking
People had to
simulators
find an issue as soon as they said a 10.
and we're seasoned veterans at this point because walking simulator is a game type.
Yeah.
Like that's not new. That's
a
not new.
game type I like.
Yeah, so I like to sit there and say like, oh, this game doesn't have any gameplay. As to me, I was the same way where I was like, okay, yeah, a lot of games don't, and some of them are actually pretty good games. So I don't have a problem with that. It goes back to a conversation I've had many, many times before. If you're gonna have these moments, like just make sure the moments you do have that you're really good at, you are good at. If you're not going to have a lot of gameplay, make sure you're nailing the story. Make sure you're nailing the music. Like, because that's what's going to be most important here. But I'm with you. I didn't care that it was light on gameplay. Most of your interaction is you walking around a room and clicking on something to see a memory. That's 95% of it.
I will say the ones I hated the most was like you just hitting buttons to do a motion. Like when they're rocking out in the car.
Yeah.
And you're just making like spasm. And I was just like, it's kind of funny at first where it made me chuckle. But I'm like, okay, well, it really
kept going.
Then it kept going. But I liked the presentation of it. Of like it was them kind of in a studio on like a belt train kind of
that was
thing.
cool.
Like it's like, oh, that's kind of clever and funny. I like that. But yeah, it was one of those moments where it's like, haha, okay. And same with the ending one of you pointing at fireworks to make him explode. Where it's like, oh, this is cool at first, but then it's like, okay, this is real boring. So yeah, there's moments that I did not like.
So this is, and you said it already, and I agree. It's probably one of the weirdest arguments that people came up with to be mad about on Mixtape. And you know, if we had covered this without any of this conversation having happened ahead of us, we would have talked about this. We would have said, yeah, it's pretty light on gameplay, but it's a walking simulator. One of my all-time favorites is Edith Finch.
Yeah.
And this does nothing like Edith Finch, and that's my issue. Now, it's been a long time since I've played that, truthfully, so maybe I have some things wrong on it. Maybe I'm romanticizing it. But the thing about Mixtape that just falls flat is the cutscenes in the things you do play aren't fun or interesting. There's nothing to them, and they don't have to be like a blast. It doesn't have to be this peak of bursting fun. But that car scene is actually the example that I really lean into the most. That should have absolutely just been I can never think of the quick actions. Whatever.
Oh, quick time?
QTE.
QuickTime. Yeah, that should have been a QuickTime event that timed out to make the rocking out or whatever actually go in time with the music instead of my characters going
Yeah.
and it just looks ridiculous.
It was very spazzy.
Yeah, I'm like, or I mean, you could try to push the buttons in time, but that's not. It wasn't interactive. That's what I'm getting at. It's like it was interactivity just to present interactivity, but it wasn't actually connected to anything, and that bothered me. I wanted to feel connected to what was happening. The other one that drove me nuts was the shopping cart scene, because you have these really cool cinematics going on of like explosions and these jumps and all of these things, and they're kind of timed out to the music, but they could be timed out better if they like slowed down the motion, made it a quick time event, made me part of it happening in time with it, not just kind of an explosion off in the distance being timed to the music. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree. Like that right alone, like I said, I'm not complaining too much about the gameplay, but you are right. That 100% would have made me more invested in this and
Well,
be more into it.
It goes back to my greater point. This would have been better as a movie because
Yeah.
these instances of interactivity didn't actually do what I think they were trying to do. I think they were literally putting stuff in there for the sake of having it. But because every single time you're having one of these events, it's you flashbacking to a memory. Do you remember what any of those memories were trying to convey when they were happening? Like, what was its impact?
Like what was the point of walking around a movie store high?
Yeah, I even think about like the skipping rock sequence. Your characters are all having a conversation. I don't remember what it was because I was trying to hit a beehive and I could not hit the beehive. So it's like, wait, if that was supposed to be a moment that was supposed to be a flashback that helps me get connected to these characters, I'm now stuck doing this really useless thing. It really does no purpose. I'm just skipping rocks. And it was like, man, if this was a movie sequence of these kids hanging out and I'm learning about them here and I'm not worried about this dumb sequence of me throwing rocks at a beehive. I eventually did get the beehive.
Nice. Did you get it in the tire to get the achievement?
It was no, I don't think I wasn't paying attention to those achievements, Andrew. You know that. So it's just that was my issue is that these events they're not connected to any. Like you want to get me invested in this story, and you're doing it through those events, and instead I'm wasting my time thinking about how nonsensical this is.
Well, we just played Indica, and on the complete opposite, it was doing wacky things, like you said, things that stood
that was a
out
puzzle.
and true, but they distract from, but they were still very much connected to the story. They made sense to what was happening, and that was what made the walking simulator aspect of it so much better. Is it just felt connected? It felt good, and part of it, the one that everybody really wants to hammer in on, like you'll always see the clips of, it's that running sequence, and you are 100% right that you can put your controller down, nothing is wrong. I'm going to cut it. I'm going to jump ahead in the podcast a little bit in here and say the main reason you want to play these sequences, whether it's that one or any of them, are the achievements, because there's generally an achievement attached to any one of them. And that's one way to make me invested. But now I have to go back and replay it if I didn't get it. And doing that run sequence more than twice is the worst. I still haven't gotten the achievement, truthfully. I don't.
Same.
And I've tried it, I don't know, 6-7 times, and it's just to the point where that song is grating. You
can't skip dialogue.
Yeah, it's a slow process to get into it, and that's where, again, I don't care that the gameplay is light. The way they did the light gameplay is so poor that it makes me upset about it. That would have been my gripe.
The other thing I kind of wanted to kind of point out and made me chuckle, when you start this game up, they have like not a warning, but a notification of this game's best experiences with a controller. Absolutely not. I played majority of this with the mouse and keyboard, and honestly, I thought the mouse and keyboard was better. Did you play? What did you guys play with?
I always play on a controller. I played on my PC, but I did play on a controller. But
there was nothing. There was no moment in this game where I'm like, oh my gosh, I should have had a controller for this mini game.
Yeah, that's kind of silly.
Just wish I had a racing wheel, truthfully.
Yeah, for the shopping cart. That'd actually be probably pretty kind of fun. But yeah, so the gameplay is overall, I think, a mixed bag. There were some moments where I did kind of enjoy it. I thought it was kind of funny and interesting. But yeah, I'm with you, Keith. I wish they did a little bit more to have me connect to it. Because even like the baseball sequence, like you're kind of getting the backstory of Cassandra, of her being upset that her parents.
But it's kind of hard.
Oh, it is. But like that whole sequence too also made me not like Cassandra. Like literally her parents are like has spent a bunch of money to teach her things and get her into sports and after school activities, and she's like, "Oh, I hate my parents provided these things for me." It's like, man, you are spoiled. My parents couldn't afford any of those things.
I mean, I don't want to jump back into the story, but they do give you a small snippet of her parents and what they're like, and I can see it being more of like a, no, you're gonna do these things and we're gonna pay for them, which is very weird.
People like that who were spoiled and kind of rebellious.
Well, it is kind of, but the mom is like a weird Southern drawl lady.
Oh,
and
yeah.
like
That was
they
jarring.
neither of them made any sense to this weird Pacific Northwest setting. That's again, neither here nor there. Just
Yeah.
the baseball one was actually kind of hard, but it could have been more fun too.
You should have done with mouse and keyboard. It was easier on mouse and keyboard.
Maybe, but I still go back to just, I don't know. I'm fine with the low gameplay. I'm not fine with the presentation of it.
All right, but I want to hear you, Keith. Let's get into music. So you did not like this game's soundtrack at all.
I don't want to say not at all. It wasn't like I hated the music. I wanted it to make more sense. She was just, again,
Not enough Limp Bizkit.
No, I mean, come
That
on.
would have helped.
You tell me, rolling when you're going down that hill on a skateboard.
That would have helped.
Gosh, it would have been great. It would have been
super fun.
The fireworks scene, rolling. Anyways, yeah. No, it goes back to the unlikability of her. She's pulling in these like
Deep cuts.
most bands that you've probably heard of, but yeah, all of the deep cuts of every single one of them, just about like I was pumped when I was like, oh, Smashing Pumpkins. My brother loved them. I grew up loving them as a result because I listened to them with him, and I knew that song, but that wasn't like it tickled my earbuds, and I was like, gosh, it was cool to have a Smashing Pumpkins song in this. It was just more like, yeah, that is a recognizable song, and that's how most of them felt. They were generally fit, but I just think it could have been better, and it ended up being just, again, a miss for me because I wanted better.
See, I would disagree. I overall really like this game's soundtrack. I thought its placements were good. I thought how they worked with it was really good. How it opened up with Devo, them going down the hill, and like Aaron was said, like your characters are clapping to the music.
The
Like,
clapping
cool.
pissed me off so bad. and I know it's all supposed to be just part of the cinematic aspect of the game. Like there's scenes of you floating through the air. Like everything is dramatic and whatever. But for one, the fact that they all do it in time, and it is annoying, but particularly it's the same aspect as the car scene. It's that there's no rhythm to it. Like you can be clapping, I'm pretty sure, and like causing it just, I don't know, or I wanted to be an action. Like give me a quick time event where we do the clapping. It's so stupid, but make it feel part of the fun. Instead, I'm just watching them as whether I'm, like crept down to go faster, jumping. Like I could be midair doing my clap because that's how it timed out with the song.
I would have ollie grind and clap like Tony Hawk clapping.
But you are, is my point, because you're still controlling what your character's doing and you don't know the clap is coming, so you're up and you're doing an ollie and your character's doing a clap.
I feel like you would hate if you had to do quick time events on that segment.
A quick hit of an A or X, no, absolutely, it would have been way more interesting.
I do think it's funny that every week one of us gets really hung up on these really obscure things in this. The clapping really just takes me off. I feel like it's usually Andrew.
I know, it usually is.
Like there's these sequences in a game that like clearly benign and like totally fits in with the rest of the game, but he's like, I didn't really like that thing. And so I just think it's funny that Keith is gonna complete that cycle. We almost went this entire episode without getting hung up on something crazy. The soundtrack rules, and the soundtrack, I get what Keith is saying, but I also think her picking the deep cuts is the whole point, right? Yeah. So
sure,
she says at the very beginning she wants to be a music supervisor, describes what that is. And I think the idea is you're supposed to fill those scenes with things that fit and emotionally make the things pop, but it's not about finding the big hits. It's not about doing that. It's about finding songs that actually just fit the moment right. And, even doing Jesus and the Mary Chain at the very beginning, that Silverchair song, which is like, okay, like these are some really, really cool songs to kind of put in here, and they totally fit. And I actually love the soundtrack. Like they nailed it there. If that was your centerpiece, in my opinion, you nail it there. Although, and this is where my journalistic integrity kicked in at the beginning. At one sequence,
the clapping was off.
At pretty early on, she goes into a sequence. It's one of those flashback sequences, and they play a Mitch Murder song. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure Mitch Murder is really recent. And I looked it up, and the song they had is from 2011. And I said, wait a minute. Was that the point? Like, I don't know. It did make me then kind of question this game. Was the game trying to get things that would have been relevant around that time frame, so songs that did exist or were new at that time? Or was it okay with grabbing songs from any generation? I don't recall another one where I was like, oh, I think that's more of a modern song. It was just that Mitch Murder song. But the Mitch Murder song, his music is all synthwave stuff. So it sounds like it's from the 80s, but it is all modern. So I was a little, I don't want to say all, there might be some stuff that dates back, but I did go to check that one song. I was like, that was, so again, small gripe, cool song, cool placement. But if you were trying to stay relevant to the time, that is not from the 80s, although it may sound it.
Look at you.
I love the
Good
soundtrack,
job.
though. Soundtrack worked.
Yeah, I'm with you, Aaron. I think the soundtrack worked.
It was
the
like,
clapping stuff. I'm not with
it
you
was
there, Keith.
it was one of its high. It's one to me. If you're gonna go around and say there's a highlight of the game, the soundtrack does work for it. I'm not really gonna have issues with that. All the other things I do have issues with, this is not one of them. I think the
and I
soundtrack
do,
works.
for the most part, kind of liked your character talking to you, fourth wall breaking of like giving a little bit of information about the songs. Like it's like, oh, okay, kind of interesting.
And she's
I
a
actually
music
wish
nerd. And
I wish
and
they did actually a little bit more of that, like explaining a little bit more of like the band history or something like that.
Yeah, and I am a music nerd. Like I listen to music all of the time, year round, and I'm listening to deep cuts all over the place. So, as again, not much of a relatable character, but in that instance, I was like, no, can totally relate with this character. But yeah, I have no complaints on that front outside of that Mitch Murder song, but I thought it was really good. I don't know how you could hate it.
So getting into the graphics,
I didn't hate it. I just didn't think it was. I just thought it could have been better. But I do like your point, though. Don't bring me back to the clapping. But you make a very good point, though, of the soundtrack needing to be more of the deep cuts, because then the music overtakes the actual moment, and it's more about the music. So you make a valid point, and I will accept being wrong on it, even though I still wanted better music, more recognizable music.
I mean, some of my favorite movies, and honestly, some of my favorite bands, I discovered through movies that like it just nails. Do you guys remember when Sweet Disposition was like this big summer hit? Do you remember that song?
Yeah.
It was from I think it was from 500 Days of Summer, and or even like a movie like I think the song's called Blood, and it was on Crazy Stupid Love. Plays at the end of it. It's awesome. It's a great song, and I remember walking out of the theater. I was like, all right, I gotta Google this.
I
'Cause
remember
what was it?
Mad World from Donnie Darko. I always loved.
Yeah. So, and to me, those kind of deep cuts are kind of what stand out in movies. Like the big hits, I don't like, can dismiss them, but it's the ones where I'm like, what is this?
Which
But then I
is
go back
funny.
to this would have been better as a show or
Yes.
a movie, because
yeah.
then the timing would have worked better, because then
not
if
wrong.
you linger too long, the song plays for too long, it feels weird. The timing could have played better when it was done as a movie or a show.
Not wrong.
Which was funny because they made that joke. I think what one of the characters said, she's like Ghostbusters, and your character's like, oh, what'd you think of the soundtrack?
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, I didn't really listen to it. And it's just funny how you actually mentioned this too, Aaron. I mean, like I discovered music from movies.
Yep.
But anyway, yeah, let's get so the graphics overall. This game is very pretty. It's very polished. Actually, I think I had a glitch. Yes. Where did it freeze on me? I had one moment where it literally like froze, like it would not progress, and I had to restart the segment. I want to say it was the baseball scene, but I don't think that's right. But anyway, one thing that I want to bring up, because I figured it's tied to the graphics. Did you guys see how big this game is?
It's massive.
It's
It's like-
14 gigs. It's a
Yeah.
3-hour game. That's like 3 gigs an hour there. It's like, this is, or no, like about, it's like, 13 and a half gigs, I think it was. But it's just like, why is this game so big? It is not a long game. Like graphically, graphically, I kind of said that very weird.
Graphically.
Graphically,
It's like-
yes, it's nice, but where are all those gigs?
Do you want to know the answer, Andrew?
Yes.
It's the clapping.
It's
The music.
No, I was gonna say it's probably the tongue kissing mini game.
Those are lost
Oh,
files.
The physics in the mini game and that tongue
I don't
kissing
know how we
segment.
didn't. That alone, honestly, was the worst sequence in any video game. Like we have played games with gore
was
and
jarring.
graphics. It is gross. I could not stand it. I don't
It's supposed to be gross.
like. I know, and I get that, but like, so here's the thing. Like we always joke about me like pointing out teeth in video games, but I don't like teeth as a whole. Like there's a rule in our house for the children: if they have a tooth issue and it needs to be pulled, they go to mom for that. I don't.
For
do
me, it's
teeth.
nails. I can't do nails.
They gross me out. I deal with eye issues. I'll deal with other things. Teeth are the thing for me. So then you put that like, ugh, and then the tongue.
One
and
has
then
braces.
The braces didn't bother. But the noises, and I wanted to get the stupid achievement. We just lost so many listeners. Thanks, Aaron. That's all you. But I hated that sequence so much. In just talking about the visuals, it looked disgusting. And again, I know that it's supposed to. That was a bad moment. But visually, I thought the game was pretty cool. I liked.
But visually, the tongues were nice.
No,
That's what I thought you were
everything
going.
aside from that, I liked the choices they made. I liked the kind of almost stop motion claymation look that they did, but everything still looked really nice and polished at the same time. Yeah, I liked all that.
I love
that was the highlight of the game for me, honestly.
The portable camera, how grainy and ugly it was. The video camera. I was like, that's kind of cool how well they put effort in that.
Yeah, I've mentioned it before. It's hard for games to look bad graphically nowadays, and this is no difference. The controversy, the thing that has brought up most of the conversation, even dating back to when this was announced, was the stuttering of your characters. Very similar to South of Midnight. Remember South of Midnight kind of had that same feel?
That art style that looked like it's low frame rate? Yeah.
Yeah. So the world around you is running at 60 frames per second, but you're running at 20. And so it's really jarring that your characters are like that. I will say as you're playing it, that starts to fade. I don't notice it as much. It kind of goes to the background a little bit. But I feel like that is a love or hate situation for people. Like, if people can't stand it, if they just want it to run at one clean frame rate, and that's what they want it to run at, this was clearly a decision artistically to do it. I personally don't hate it. I kind of agree with Keith. It reminds me a lot of stop motion, and I'm obviously a huge fan of it. So for me, I could kind of dismiss that, but I would totally understand why some people would absolutely hate it, because it's just an artistic decision.
Yeah, like watching the trailer, I thought I was going to hate it too. Or I was like, oh my gosh, like what's with the frame rate in this? I generally do not care about frame rate in game. I usually don't notice that much. Some games I can kind of notice. Like
But
if I'm
this
playing
isn't a frame
Overwatch, I'm
rate
like,
issue.
ooh. I'm like, this feels like it's smooth 60. I know it's not, but because like once I realized it's an artistic choice, like I said, it's just in the trailer. When I saw it, I'm like, why is it so jittery?
Yeah.
But playing it, I'm with you, Aaron. It didn't bother me. I did kind of like it. Like I said, they did some cool, interesting things. Like I said, with them riding in the car, it was supposed to be like them kind of in a studio. Same with when they're like exploring a train. It kind of had like images of like the train running, even though it's a broken down train. Like they did these really cool artistic things. I'm like, all right, this is a cool vibe. I like that. Like even running in the field segment, I thought was cool at first. Way too long of a segment. I was like, oh, this is fun, but then I'm like, all right, this is like a 5-minute segment. I'm kind of bored with this now. I'm just spinning around. But it was a cool artistic choice.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I would say, like comparatively, South of Midnight had actual moments where it was like clay, if I recall. Like you could actually
the
see
actual cinematics.
But outside of that, no, I think it landed over a lot, and I think Aaron said it best. As you play it, and there's no real reason, and I didn't actually, I will admit, but there's no real reason you shouldn't be able to sit down and kind of play this through in one shot. It's like 3 hours. So as you get to the end, like you barely notice it. But if it is something that you immediately just cannot get past, you're not gonna, and you won't. But if it doesn't bother you, you'll stop noticing it even.
Oh, and I forgot to mention this during the music for you listeners. There's already news going around of people, I guess, kind of freaking out. I don't know why you freak out on this game, but that this game might get delisted in a couple of years due to music licensing issues. Yeah. And Annapurna already came out and said, like, no, that's actually not going to happen. You'll be okay.
Yeah,
I mean, granted,
they bought the licenses in perpetuity, which is actually that goes back to because I'm not going to talk a lot about it because it doesn't matter to me, but where people were talking about the numbers behind it, because doing it in perpetuity it costs more, and that's where they're like, how is an indie studio going? Anyways, but that's where that happened.
I didn't know that was the actual reason. I
Yeah.
just knew that they said, nah, it's going to be good. But anyway, as far as the achievements go, this game overall, pretty good for achievement hunters. Like I said, it's 3 to 4 hours to beat the game. It has chapter select, so you can go back to the vignettes and redo any achievements you missed. But just about every vignette has an achievement tied to it. So I guess that's the way they kind of forced you to play a game. As we said, people are complaining there's no gameplay. Well, if you want the achievements, you got to play the game to do it. But yeah, overall the achievements aren't very hard. Some of them, like I said, may take you a couple times to do. Like Keith said, the running segment, the baseball segment took a little bit. But yeah, and you can't skip dialogue, which is understandable, but it's annoying when you're trying to get the achievement. But yeah, overall it's pretty easy to get the achievement. So easy game to get 1,000 on.
I would argue that I should be able to skip it when I'm doing chapter select. I understand
I
not
agree
being
with
able
you,
to skip
Keith.
it the first
Yeah.
time, but on chapter select I should. But yeah, I think I'm at like 700. I've got to say I have put that table down in under 30 or that sofa down in under 30 seconds. I don't know how many times, and it will not give me the dang achievement.
I feel like the achievements are a little glitched.
I haven't
I'm
actually
the
timed it
same.
out, so I don't know for 100% fact, but I am confident in my timing skills and the fact that I did other things in under 30 seconds that I didn't think I completed in 30 seconds. Anyways, minor gripe.
All right, but let's get into our final thoughts on Mixtape. So, as I said at the beginning of this episode, I give this barely a game. It didn't, like I said, I generally don't care for this type of genre of the genre. I like walking simulators, but I don't care for Teen Ink stuff. I usually don't ride the nostalgia of, oh, I remember that as a kid, even though a lot of this stuff in this game is familiar to me. Like I experienced a bit, but overall, Mixtape was fine. It didn't surprise me. It wasn't like, whoa, that made me think. That really lived in my head for the next week. Nah, it was a fine experience. Like I said, it was 3 hours. I didn't hate the 3 hours. I love the music. I wish the gameplay, like Keith said, I do agree with Keith. I think they could have done a little bit more to make it a little more engaging. But overall, yeah, the characters weren't super likable. Yeah, the game's very polished. I don't understand why it's 14 gigs. But, if you're looking for something kind of different, if you're looking for one walking simulator, I'd go with What Remains of Edith Finch. But I don't think that's on Game Pass anymore. Mixtape is okay. For me, I'd probably give this like a 67.
Yeah, I mean, I gave this a pass. I still give this a pass, and it's the clapping. It's really just the clapping at the end of the day. That's why I'm giving it a pass. But it's not the lack of gameplay. It's the miss on the opportunity of what could be there for the gameplay, and the way that it plays out does a poor job of connecting the story together and making me feel part of the story, engaged with the story. As Andrew said, I'm not someone who, I will absolutely sit around and regale stories of high school with friends and have a crack up time for sure. But none of these stories were relatable to me. There were characters that I didn't like. So if we were to just play this with IGN having 0 reviews on it or anybody else, I still probably would have just said I didn't care for any of it, truthfully. The music still would have been the highlight in that it's a good soundtrack. It's just not what I wanted, even though it probably was the right choice, which Aaron pointed out. I think, yeah, it didn't do a lot for me. And I, outside of giving me some decent achievement score in a short span of time, that's kind of the perk of it. I would give it a 65.
I believe this game retails for $30.
Ooh,
which is a lot of money for a 3-hour game with minimal gameplay. That might be the soundtrack budget right there. This to me is a perfect type of game for Game Pass, though. It's a game.
No, it's $20.
Oh, it's 20?
Still a
okay.
lot.
I thought it was a little bit more on the expensive side. I would still say though this is a game that I really do wonder, with it not being on Game Pass, what its sales would even look like, just because of how niche it is. But this is perfect for a Game Pass pickup, because it works for some people, and so it doesn't work for most of us, but I think it's still worth checking out, and it is. It's 3 hours long, so you're not really going to kill yourself. It's not like you're going to be super invested and then like be like, oh, where did my hours go? It's 3 hours. It's not really like the end of the world. Also, you can play this on cloud, Andrew, so you don't even have to download the 14 gigs.
Yeah, I did.
But all in all, I would give this a 74. I still think it hits on enough points to kind of put it up there. If gameplay I thought was something it was really leaning into, I would have had more shots against it there. But the reality is, it's just a mediocre walking simulator. Is kind of what it is. At the end of the day, with a decent soundtrack, is kind of how I view this game. At the end of the day, so for me, 74.
I still think conceptually too, it's a really cool idea. The whole concept of her narrating the soundtrack of the game, like that actually still appeals to me. You know what it reminds me of? It Still Wakes the Deep. In the aspect of what a cool idea that didn't do anything for me.
No, wrong. That game did a lot.
Terry Crews said that was his all-time favorite game. That's his GOAT game.
Terry Crews is a legend on this podcast, and I do have a hard time arguing.
No, Jack Black is.
True, but Terry Crews is just Terry Crews.
He's a real gamer, Terry Crews.
Yeah, Terry Crews is just awesome.
But Aaron's still wrong, but Terry Crews might be right on this. That's all I'm saying.
It was a really good game.
And it's always funny thinking about high school, Keith. There's always a song I always associate you, and that's Brand New.
Which one?
Oh yeah, didn't your phone? Was that your ringtone?
I mean, probably. No. Well, there was Every Time I Die. That was my alarm.
Yeah, I remember.
Was it New Black?
Yeah, I don't remember your ringtones because you had that flip phone, and it was really cool.
Oh, you hated it because again, it was my alarm, and I would set it for like 6 times in a row. That Tiger at the beginning of New Black.
If there is anything about the Lynches,
we love our alarms.
You guys do not wake up to alarms.
Oh yeah, I just heard that.
Like their alarms. I remember your brother would have like 3. It would wake me up. I'm awake, and he would sleep through them for like 3 hours of just 3 alarms blaring. I don't know how that's possible. I gotta fly in here. It's driving me nuts.
Do you know that I live on 24-hour clock because of alarms? Because I've misset alarms on AM PM clocks, so I live on 24 hours.
To try and fix this problem? So goodness, you guys.
I mean, that goes back years, and then I just adapted, and now I just do it. But that was why I made the switch. Because I misset an alarm too many times, and I was like, nope, I'm not going to make that mistake again. It's hard to misset an alarm for 18 o'clock when you need to get up at 6 a.m.
That is a good point. That is a good point.
All right. Well, we got to wrap it up here. So thank you all so much for joining us. Please make sure you go to GamePassGrabBag.com. Check out our website. As I said before in our side quest episode, please give us some game recommendations of some real stinkers. I want to know what is your worst Game Pass game. I want to check it out. But yes, I've been your hardcore gamer host, Andrew. You can find me on Xbox Live at Firebird0952. But besides that, yeah, make sure check out our YouTube. Check out Aaron's YouTube. Thank you all for being here. We'll see you again next week.
See ya.
See y'all.
You guys sounded so excited.
See y'all never. Got him.
Boom.
Boom, roasted. You're all roasted.